Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Zoe and I'm your host representing EAC Product Development Solutions. Today we are presenting MPMLink, so you can reduce production time with Windchill MPMLink, and our presenter is Shane Rigger. A little bit about EAC. We're made up of industry experts who are passionate about transforming the way our companies design, manufacture, connect to, and service their products. Our business has probably been operating since 1996. Our product solutions and services span the complete product development lifecycle, including computer-aided design, simulation, additive manufacturing, product lifecycle management, service lifecycle management, and technical publications, also including the Internet of Things and augmented reality. So really any point across the product development lifecycle, what our experts have experience with. So we are one of the leading premier PTC North America technology partners, offering the full PTC portfolio, as well as a leading global solution provider for over 20 years. We also partner with Formlab's desktop additive manufacturing solutions and Intamsys industrial 3D printers. Next. So our capabilities include services that support your strategic initiatives, such as business assessments to help you identify areas for improvement and optimize your operations. Software installation and system integration services to streamline your workflows and improve collaboration between teams. We offer training and support services to help you get the most out of your software investments and stay up to date with the latest technologies. Some other capabilities are engineering analysis and design services to help develop better products and bring them to market faster, and so much more. Next slide, please. So we are headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but our employees are spread across the US, and we're always within reach and ready to help no matter where your business is located. So that's just a little bit about EAC. Now, without further ado, I will introduce Shane Rigger, our expert today, who is going to cover MPMLink. So now I'll pass over the mic to Shane.
Thank you. And just a quick introduction of myself. Thank you for that, though. My name is Shane. I'm a part of our virtual center of excellence here at PTC. And whenever we join the calls within the VCOE, we help out with the high-level demonstrations and technical overviews of our different technologies. So like we were talking about today, what we're going to be going through is Windchill's MPMLink. And what this is a tool that allows you to manage all of your manufacturing processes within the one PLM system. So all within Windchill, it allows you to manage those sort of processes. Looking at challenges that we see in industry around manufacturing processes, we start with designing products, which could be a very slow and manual process. So really what happens is, whether it's engineering and manufacturing, they're in silos. So whenever engineering is completed, then manufacturing can start. That's where that disconnect really happens, and that's where the slow down in time to market can really be. And the teams involved in the design processes are disconnected. So there's a bit of a wall between your design group, manufacturing groups, which often leads to information that's either incorrect or out of date, and that can cause some issues as well. And as I mentioned before, there's typically inconsistent data management or data translation between those two teams. And when you have to rework that information that late in the design cycle or in your product life cycle, it can become very expensive and extremely tedious working through those sort of changes. Some more challenges here. Typically, there's an inability to reuse your manufacturing processes and resources. So once you use them up, they've been used already, or you have trouble finding them to reuse them over and over again. And then with that, there's also typically missed deadlines because of those poor data sharing processes, because you don't have the ability to be able to standardize on anything. So you have to redo it multiple times, and that takes a lot more of users' time to be able to do so. And of course, that can also lead to those missed deadlines because of that. So with the extra time, it increases the manufacturing cost of that miscommunication or that barrier in between those groups that you have in those last minute design changes. So the solution to those challenges is going to be, again, what we call Windchill's MPMLink. And really it has two different facets to it. Firstly, being able to give you the ability to transform your bill of materials from your engineering bill into that manufacturing bill. And then of course, with that, it allows your manufacturing users to work in parallel as the design group is still designing their products. But then the other facet is the ability to be able to manage all of your manufacturing processes and resources, and being able to have those input right onto a work instruction like you're seeing on the screen here for any assemblers to be able to quickly gain that information. So some capabilities of Windchill MPMLink. Firstly, it allows you to have the BOMs, really the engineering bill, the manufacturing bill, all updating in real time. So as the designers are making those modifications to the engineering bill of materials they're working with, then that can be pushed downstream to that manufacturing bill as it's created, and those changes can be seen by the manufacturing users so that they always have that latest information at any given time. Then you could digitally define those manufacturing process plans and resources, as well as standards right within Windchill. So anything that you need in terms of potential fixtures or skill sets that are needed, resources that are going to be consumed within each of those processes and plans, you can store all of that information right within Windchill. And you'll see that throughout the demonstration, as well as how we really define those sort of processes. And then once that's done and set up properly, then you can visualize those work instructions to be able to view that information to reduce the amount of rework, and of course, improve your product quality on the shop floor. Okay, so now we'll get into the demonstration portion, and what we're going to be going through is understanding how you work from your engineering bill of materials to the manufacturing bill of materials, and then from that manufacturing bill, because you have all of the updated information, being able to create process plans directly from that bill of material on the manufacturing side. So what we're seeing here is the Windchill home screen for our user. This would just be their home screen. And what we're going to do is access one of the assemblies or design bill of materials that we're working with, the engineering bill. So we can go from the design to that manufacturing. As we pull that up, we're going to see the bill of materials has changed and what has been populated, and we can go to any related objects to this as well. So within the related objects, you can see that there's process plans that have already been laid out. You can see there's two different ones. We're going to select on that version A.4. And what you'll see is we have a process plan in place. It's based a lot like the product structure or part structure that you would normally see within Windchill. There's a lot of similarities to it. It's going to be dynamic, so you can open those up and you can see everything that's being consumed within the process plan for a specific step. You have that visualization there as well, so that helps you understand what is going to be worked on within that process plan. And what you can do is you can go ahead and generate a work instruction. That's going to pull up another tab. And what this does is it allows you to see exactly what the work instructions look like at this point in time. So every time you select on that button, it's going to generate a new work instruction. If there's been anything added to it or removed from it, you're going to be able to see those updates. So from here, you can see it's a really very well built out work instruction. So you can see things such as the process which it belongs to, the operation labels, some of the descriptions, what things are being consumed, what resources are being consumed, what parts are being consumed. But what's also really valuable is the visual work instructions as to what's going to be done at that specific station on the manufacturing shop floor. Okay, so now that we understand the work instructions, what those can look like, now we can go through and actually creating one of those from scratch. So we can start to work backwards. We'll start from scratch. We'll perform an eBOM to that mBOM transformation like we've been talking about. And then what we'll do is we'll allocate the process plans. So what that's doing is aligning any necessary resource to your process plan. So whenever you're generating those work instructions, it has that most up-to-date relevant information that anybody's going to need to see within those steps. So like I said, we'll go ahead into the manufacturing manufacturing associative part structure browser, this is where we're going to make that transformation. And this is where we're going from that engineering or that design bill of materials into that manufacturing bill. So what we're going to do is switch to our manufacturing point of view or perspective, and you can see that there's no information in here right now. So we're actually going to start creating that link, and we'll come in and add a new downstream branch, and then you can see the downstream view is going to be manufacturing in this case. Okay, so now that that's populated, now let's say you want to bring over other parts into the manufacturing BOM. So you can simply copy and paste them over. This is extremely valuable in that you aren't recreating these parts. You're simply just reusing them and then bringing those over into that BOM. And also, of course, you can separately select on different components. So in this case, the connecting rod and the piston assembly, and we're also going to paste that into the crank assembly that we have. Then let's say you want to be able to add a new part that doesn't already exist within Windchill. So what you can do is insert a new part and start to create that. So we'll say this is a manufacturing consumable kit. We can go ahead and show that, hey, this is going to only reside on the manufacturing side of things. And this is only going to be apparent on that manufacturing BOM rather than the engineering BOM that we have. And then as we finish that up, we can see it's going to populate right within that manufacturing bill. And you see it has a different viewable icon as well. Now we can go ahead and insert another new part, the manufacturing consumables kit. Much of the same here. What we're doing is we're going to have the assembly lubricant, and we'll also put that into the manufacturing view as well. So there's multiple different ways from creating from scratch or reuse of the parts that you can bring those into the different BOMs that you're managing. Okay, so now those new parts exist on the manufacturing side of things. Now all we have to do is go back and check back in now that they've been created, and we're going to apply that to all new parts. Okay, so you can see here that there's no process plans currently on the manufacturing side of things. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and create a new one from scratch. So we'll call it a crank assembly process plan. We'll select that as a manufacturing view. So just including any necessary information for that process plan, and then we can begin to create that. All right, so now you can view that information. Here you have your process plan that's been created right from the manufacturing associative part structure browser. And then you can go to that structure. And what we'll do is this is going to allow you to manipulate and add to that process plan. Now, let's say you want to add new steps to your process plan. This is how you're going to do that. So we're going to insert a new operation. We're going to say that there's going to be 5 total operations. And then if we select on all of those, what we want to do is we want to be able to make an edit to those and rename them so that they make the most sense for the operations that they're going to reside under. So again, in this case, mount the crankshaft. Next is assemble the connecting rod. After that, assemble the piston, mount the flywheel. So again, the point is just labeling them to be the most valuable for the process plan that you're creating. And then what you can do is start to relate those parts, and you'll notice that there's a visualization on the bottom left-hand side of the crank assembly that we're working with. And what's going to happen is whenever you start moving those parts over into or dragging and dropping those into the process plans that you have, you're going to start to notice that visualization is automatically updating. So as you bring those parts from the visualization on the bottom left into your process plans, they're removed from the bottom left and then added to that visualization you have on your right-hand side. So you're getting visual cues all along the way to make sure that you're including everything necessary within those steps. Okay, so now we have a full process plan. Now what we're going to do is we're going to search up a specific plant location, meaning where is this going to be manufactured at? So you have a specific, different specific plants within Windchill that can reside under the MPMLink umbrella. And so what you'll see here is that we have one plant, but within that plant, you have things that roll under it, such as assembly lines, what type of skills that are going to be needed, what kind of stations, process materials, things like that. And it's all going to be managed under, again, MPMLink, and everything that can be consumed and associated along the way can be included within these processes. So in this case, what we're going to do is move the assembly work center over to the mount crankshaft. So we're going to be utilizing that for the process plan. And then we also have station 3, which will have the inspection work center for that crank assembly inspection for any quality assurance. And then once you get those added in, the work centers, we can go ahead and also add in who's going to be responsible for assembling that information. So we have the assembler or the resource here as well. And this can be just the assembler doing all this, no special skills needed for that. And then the inspector is going to be the one doing that inspection work. And then you'll be able to take a look at the tooling that's necessary in order to get all this assembly done or configured properly. So going through this, you can see you can be extremely descriptive and granular in how much information is being tied into your process plans. And again, because you're linking them to your engineering BOM, you always have the most up-to-date information, which is huge because a lot of paper-based instructions such as this can get outdated. You don't know who has what visibility and if they have the most up-to-date information. So with this, it gives you that flexibility and understanding that everybody has the necessary information. So now that we've completed that process plan, what we're going to do now is go over to the users tab. And what you can do here is we can also add in descriptions of what's going to be done within the workstation or that specific work center. So we can add this in. This is going to appear within those dynamic work instructions like I was mentioning. So what we're going to do is just go through and fill out any of the times necessary in order to complete each step, as well as the description of what's needed to be done during that step. So really just laying out the foundation for any user to be able to see this information and understand what needs to be done and then move forward so that they have everything accounted for. And then of course, the real value here of Windchill is having all this information together and being able to relate it to that engineering bill, like I was mentioning, that changes every so often that the manufacturing bill needs to rely on. So it's all containing that information within the one system here. Okay, and then finishing out the last step here. Okay, perfect. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and check in all of these. So again, within Windchill, it's doing its job. It's letting the user know, hey, now that you've made some changes to, in this case, a process plan, you need to check this in. And the reason being is that this is going to give everybody visibility and into knowing that this is the most up-to-date information for this process plan. And if you're unfamiliar with Windchill, it works with everything that's being managed within Windchill. So if you're making any updates to anything within here, you're checking that out, checking those parts back in, and it's making sure that everybody within the system is following any processes that you have in place for that history change. Okay, so now that check-in's completed, now you can take a look at the playback here. So what the playback allows you to do is add in visualizations for any specific steps. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to mount the crankshaft, and we can submit a published job within Creo View so that we can go in and say, hey, we want to create a new visualization for that. We're going in and creating those new visualizations that we can use moving forward and be able to work with those and display specific actions that need to be completed on those components. So like you saw earlier, whenever we were viewing those work instructions, there was visualizations within the work instructions. This is all we're doing here. We're simply just coming in and making representations for those to be displayed. And of course, utilizing Creo View, which you'll see in a moment, you can really really add in as much information that's going to be necessary for any process plans that you're creating. Okay, so now that we've created all those, now what we can do is select them and go to the representations for the work instructions and start to begin to work with those visualizations. So now you can see you have those 5 steps that we just created. They're all populated in Creo View now, and we can start to create the illustrations for them. So with Creo View, again, if you're unfamiliar with it, what this is doing is displaying a lightweight representation of any CAD object that we normally would have to open within our CAD system. So from here, if a non-engineer was needing to work with this type of information, they're able to utilize Creo View, come in, of course, create different visualizations for the process plans if they needed to just do a general markup or understand and interrogate the different models they're working with. It's a very valuable and powerful tool for being able to do so, again, without ever having the need for the CAD systems that you would be using. This also works with more than just CAD. So if you were doing anything such as markups or redlining on a PDF document, working with ECAD data, it could work with things such as that as well. So for this, what we're doing within the process plan, of course, is creating our visualization. So like you can see, you can create notes, like I mentioned, do annotations, drag parts around, really whatever you need to in order to convey your message within the work instructions so that they can be consumed in an easy to use way once you create your process plans. So once you've created that annotation set, you can save it directly back in the Windchill so that can, of course, be used further and further down the road. Okay, and then you also have to inspect the crank assembly, which would be the next one that we would go through. So we'll just go ahead and pull that model up that's being consumed by that. And then we'll put that in the same orientation like we just did to just make things more consistent for any assembly workers throughout. Okay, and then we'll just write a note that says inspect the crank assembly with specification 1024 for the dimensions. So again, just including any necessary information throughout the steps. And then what you can do is change the format, of course, make it a little bit more apparent if you need to, but this should work for the work instruction we're creating. And then you simply publish it. And then the step here is just to save it back in the Windchill as we did previously. And you can see there on the bottom left-hand side, the visualizations are going to automatically update when you save them. Okay, so now that we've created those visualizations, now what you want to do is put in the long description for anybody that needs it. In this case, it's an inspection, so the inspector would be viewing this information, and this is just going to reference relevant information for that inspector. So in this case, spec sheet 1024 for the dimensions necessary for that crank assembly that we've been working with. And again, all to make sure that you're meeting any requirements necessary to pass that inspection. Okay, now that's the description. Now that we've saved it, you can check those process plans back in, again, very quickly, following any standard process you have. If there was a review process as well, this touches kind of on change management, the workflows within Windchill. So if you were going through any change, if any user added new updates to a process plan, you can also have your review team review any of those changes for, like I said, a process plan, CAD file, PDF documentation, anything that has any change out against it or any check-in. And then, of course, finally, we can generate our work instructions with all of those viewables that we published. And then as you scroll down through, you're going to notice all of that information that you provided to the process plans as you go through and as you went through and created them. You can see the visualizations, the quantities, the setup times that we set, what allocated parts there are, resources, names, of course, as well as who created that information. So this really allows you to transform more than just your eBOM, but then into an mBOM, and also being able to associate anything that your manufacturing team would need. And then before I wrap up, I want to talk about briefly how this can really benefit a lot of customers. So firstly, it's providing a single globally accessible system to associate that design plan, your production, and synchronize with an ERP environment if you have one. So everything is one, everything is together on a single platform. And because you're doing all of this within your PLM system, you have that ability to be able to tie it in engineering bill and then the manufacturing bill together. There's no disjunct, there's no wall in between those two groups. And as I mentioned, there you have the concurrent design and manufacturing processes, and it provides a well-planned and repeatable production process.